Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt like we can't possibly be alone in this vast universe? The idea that extraterrestrial life exists and might even be living among us has long fascinated humanity. It's a secret so profound you'd think any visitor from the cosmos would guard it with their life. Yet there are individuals among us who break this silence, making astonishing claims of origins not of this earth or of encounters with beings from beyond our world. From a boy who insists he once lived on Mars to a man who claims to hail from another universe, here are 15 terrifying people who declare themselves as visitors from space. Number 15. Elizabeth Clara. In 1956, South African-born Elizabeth Clara claimed that she had an encounter that she could never forget, a brush with extraterrestrial creatures. Clara allegedly saw the extraterrestrial spaceship on her family's farm. She described this craft as a disc-shaped object that hovered and moved silently. She even claimed to have taken photos of this craft, but of course, just like many alleged proofs of extraterrestrial evidence caught on tape, it's unverified. 2 years after her alleged sighting, she claimed she had a day-long rendezvous with an extraterrestrial named Aatk on the high plateau of Cathkin Peak. According to Clara, the relationship was not just friendly but intimate, leading to the conception of a child. But that's not all of it. She claimed that in 1959 she was transported to Aatk's home planet Meton, in the Alpha Centauri star system. On Meton, she described a utopian society without cities or skyscrapers, where all necessities like food and water were abundant, and there was no need for a monetary system. There, she allegedly gave birth to a son named Ailing, but had to return to Earth due to health issues related to the planet's vibrations. Some ufologists believed that her claims, particularly the photographs, were genuine. However, others, especially psychiatrists and scientists, largely dismissed her stories and claimed that she had a vivid imagination or was suffering from psychological distress. Number 14. Calvin Parker. On the evening of October 11, 1973, Calvin Parker, along with his friend Charles Hickson, experienced an event that would profoundly affect their lives. They claimed to have been abducted by aliens while fishing near Pascagoula, Mississippi. Following their alleged encounter, Parker and Hickson found themselves at the center of a media storm at the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. They were questioned separately and then left alone in a room, unaware that they were being secretly recorded. The recording, which captured them discussing the experience and expressing their fear, later played a crucial role in convincing the authorities and others that their story might be credible. The case drew the attention of notable UFO researchers and investigators, including Dr. J. Allen Hynek and Dr. James Harder, who arrived in Pascagoula to interview and hypnotize Parker and Hickson. Even with polygraph tests, voice stress tests, and multiple hypnosis sessions, many people remained skeptical of Parker and Hickson's story. What's more, the incident had a significant impact on Parker's life. He lost his job, faced constant media attention, and even changed his name to avoid recognition. Number 13. Russian Mars Boy. Born on January 11, 1996, Boris Kapryanovich is a young boy who rose to fame for his claims about being a Martian in his past life. Sounds quite impossible, right? At a young age, Boris immediately caught the attention of many for his incredible intelligence. At just 4 months, he could already speak words, and by 8 months, he was speaking complete sentences. It also seemed like he had a natural inclination toward astronomy. At the age of 7, Boris first gained attention when he told detailed stories about his past life on Mars during a family camping trip. These stories were so compelling that they caught the attention of a professor who was present and led to coverage in the Russian newspaper Pravda. In an extensive interview at the age of 11, Boris described civilizations on Mars and how they were nearly destroyed by nuclear war. He claimed to be reborn on Earth with a mission to help prevent a similar fate here. He also mentioned other indigo children like himself who were supposedly Martians reborn on Earth. He made an enigmatic prediction about the Sphinx in Egypt, unlocking a significant change for humanity. Despite his early fame, Boris, as of 2023, would be 27 years old and has largely faded from the public eye. There are various theories about his current whereabouts and activities, but the most likely scenario is that he lives an everyday life away from the limelight. His story, whether true or not, has undoubtedly left a lasting impression on ufologists, and many continue to believe that Boris is indeed a true Martian. Number 12. Gil Perez. Now this story takes us to Southeast Asia in the Philippines. Gil was a Spanish soldier in the Philippines, and one fateful day in October 1593, he suddenly found himself in Mexico City, thousands of kilometers away, without any explanation of how he got there. The story begins on a dramatic note with the assassination of Governor Gomez Perez das Marinas in the Philippines. Perez, a seasoned soldier with over 20 years of service, was reportedly guarding the Palacio del Gobernador in Manila at the time of the governor's death. The next day, to the astonishment of many, he was found in Mexico City's Plaza Mayor still wearing his uniform from Manila. His knowledge of the governor's assassination, which was yet unknown in Mexico City, initially led to his imprisonment on suspicions of desertion and supernatural involvement. Perez's improbable journey only gained credence when a Spanish galleon from the Philippines arrived in Mexico a few months later, confirming his account of the governor's assassination. The authorities, puzzled by the impossibility of Perez's story, but faced with corroborating evidence, eventually released him. He was sent back to Manila to resume his duties, with the mystery of his appearance in Mexico City remaining unsolved. There are a lot of theories regarding what happened. Some contemporary theories include alien abduction suggesting that extraterrestrial beings transported Perez. Others have speculated about interdimensional portals, especially given the significance of Mexico City's Zocalo as a location steeped in historical and cultural importance. Despite its enduring appeal, the story of Gil Perez is challenging to verify historically. It first appeared in written form in a 1698 account by Fr. Gaspar de San Agustin, who attributed Perez's transportation to witchcraft. Later, Dr. Antonio de Morga mentioned the story briefly in his historical works, Sucesos de las Filipinas, noting the remarkable coincidence of the news of the governor's death being known in Mexico City on the same day. Whether fact, fiction, or something in between, the story of Gil Perez remains among the most talked about in extraterrestrial stories. Number 11. Ashto Galactic Command. Have you heard of the Ashto Galactic Command? This isn't a single person but an entity or group of entities who supposedly communicate with humans through various channels. George Van Tassel, a notable figure in the UFO contactee movement, was one of the first to claim to have received messages from Ashto in 1952. Initially, these messages were focused more on the intervention in human scientific development rather than spiritual guidance. However, as the movement grew, the Ashto teachings began to incorporate more spiritual dimensions aligning with the narratives of Ascended Master. One of the most well-known events associated with the Ashto Galactic Command was the 1977 Southern Television broadcast interruption in the UK. During a news program, an audio message claiming to be from Vrillon of the Ashto Galactic Command was broadcast, interrupting the regular programming. This message spoke about the need for peace and disarmament and warned of the destiny of the human race. The incident caused quite a stir, with many people alarmed and confused. Over time, the messages of Ashto evolved. In the 1950s and 1960s, they were more focused on the physical arrival of extraterrestrial spacecraft to assist humans. However, as time went on and the predicted events did not occur, the teachings began to shift towards a more spiritual emphasis, involving transformation and spiritual evolution. The movement has seen its fair share of internal conflicts, failed prophecies, and changes in direction, but it didn't stop its believers from spreading their claims. Number 10. Peter Faust. Now here's a pretty different story. Peter Faust was a young man who claimed he had been abducted by extraterrestrials. It all began in 1988 when he was 33. His earliest memories date back to when he was about 8 years old. Faust described his abductors as beings with large, pear-shaped heads and almond-shaped eyes, and he felt a strange familiarity with them, reacting as if he knew them, which was odd. Seeking help and someone to hopefully tell him what was happening, he found Johnny Mack, a psychiatrist who believed that the emotional intensity attached to such memories indicated they were more than just dreams. Under relaxation techniques and regression therapy, Faust was able to recall more details about his abductions. He describes being physically lifted and moved through a window into a spacecraft, which then transported him to another larger ship. During these abductions, he recalls being shown movies and pictures by the aliens and undergoing physical experiments, including sperm samples being taken from him. Now, what made Faust's story so convincing was the fact that he was skeptical about what he was remembering as well. He was not initially interested in UFOs and struggled with the idea that aliens could have abducted him. His experiences were validated further when he interacted with other abductees, realizing that they shared similar experiences independently. To this day, Faust's experiences remain unverified and largely doubted among the medical and scientific community. A real experience, or is it just the trickery of the mind? I'll let you be the judge. Number 9. Dean Lindsay. Dean Lindsay's claim on extraterrestrial real estate is a fascinating and unusual story. On June 15, 1936, Lindsay made claims on all extraterrestrial objects and even went as far as sending a letter to a Pittsburgh notary public, along with a deed and money to establish his ownership. His act attracted public attention, with some people even sending him offers to buy objects from him. Lindsay's claim, however, was not unique, as other individuals and organizations have made similar claims over the years. These claims, while interesting, have no legal standing under international law as outlined in the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 and the Moon Treaty of 1979, which forbid private ownership of extraterrestrial real estate. Even if this somehow becomes legal, I don't think I'd ever be interested in obtaining such property. Obtaining a home here on Earth is hard enough as it is. I reckon extraterrestrial law would be much more complicated than ours. Number 8. George Adamsky. Born in Poland in 1891 and migrating to the US as a child, Adamsky would later become one of the most controversial figures in the history of ufology. The story takes a curious turn in the 1940s, especially around 1946, when he claimed to have witnessed a large cigar-shaped mothership during a meteor shower. Now this marked the beginning of his connection to the extraterrestrial. Growing up, Adamsky claimed to have seen numerous UFOs and even took photographs of what he believed were alien spacecraft. His most famous alleged encounter, however, occurred in 1952 in the Colorado desert, where he claimed to have met a creature from Venus named Orthan. Adamsky described Orthan as a humanoid with long blonde hair and tan skin who communicated with him through telepathy and hand signals. Adamsky also authored several books where he shared and discussed his supposed adventures with beings from Venus, Mars, and Saturn. He claimed these creatures were concerned about humanity's self-destructive ways, particularly the use of nuclear weapons. His tales included trips aboard alien spacecraft, meeting with advanced alien civilizations, and receiving profound knowledge from a nearly 1,000-year-old master. Now, of course, despite his popularity, many were skeptical about his claims. Critics pointed out inconsistencies and improbabilities in his stories, and noted that his assertions about the conditions on Venus and other planets contradicted known scientific facts. His photographs of UFOs were also disputed, with some experts suggesting they were fabricated using household objects. To this day, however, Adamsky remains a prominent and influential figure in the field of ufology. Now it's up to you to decide which of these you'll believe. While I agree that there must be extraterrestrial creatures out there, I think they have no plans of fully revealing themselves to us. Number 7. Claude Maurice Marcel Vorelhan, better known as Rael. Claude Maurice Marcel Vorelhan is a figure whose life story reads like a mix of science fiction and religious prophecy. Before he became the leader of the Raelian movement, Vorelhan was a sports car journalist and test driver. His life took an extraordinary turn in 1973 when he claimed to have an encounter with extraterrestrial beings. According to Rael, these beings, whom he referred to as the Elohim, were advanced human scientists from another planet. They allegedly created all life on Earth through DNA manipulation around 25,000 years ago. This narrative diverges significantly from traditional religious texts by proposing a technological rather than supernatural origin for humanity. In Rael's interpretation, biblical events like the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark are recast as alien scientific experiments. Rael claimed that the Elohim appointed him as their ambassador on Earth. He said he was tasked with spreading their message and preparing for their eventual return. This involved, among other things, building an embassy in neutral territory. His second book, Extraterrestrials Took Me to Their Planet, detailed his purported experiences with these beings, including meetings with significant religious figures like Buddha, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. Under his guidance, the International Raelian Movement was founded. The movement believes that extraterrestrials are responsible for creating all life on Earth. Number 6. Billy Meyer. Born on February 3, 1937 in Bulak, Switzerland, Billy Meyer is a man who claims he had encounters with extraterrestrial creatures starting when he was only 5 years old. He describes an encounter with an elderly entity named Svath, who communicated with him telepathically and supposedly took him aboard a metallic pear-shaped craft. These experiences, Meyer claims, were meant to accelerate the development of his mind and prepare him for his life's work. Throughout his life, Meyer continued to report contact with various extraterrestrial entities, including a female entity named Asket, who instructed him for over a decade. His experiences were not just limited to meetings and conversations. He also claimed to have been taken back in time to witness key historical events. This extensive travel and unusual preoccupation led Meyer to become isolated from others and made him a target for bullies during his youth. As he grew up, Meyer's belief in extraterrestrial creatures remained. He even documented his experiences through a book, with over 24,000 documented transmissions he allegedly received from extraterrestrials. Whether they're true or not is another question. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. This individual stands as one of the most chilling figures among those claiming extraterrestrial origin. Throughout human history, numerous supposed sightings and encounters with beings from beyond our planet have been reported, yet none have been conclusively proven. The question of whether extraterrestrials indeed walk among us remains open and unanswered. This person, or rather this alleged extraterrestrial, asserts that he hails from not this Earth. His extraordinary features might have made this claim self-evident, but in an age where cosmetics and digital enhancements are commonplace, skepticism towards such declarations is understandable. The intriguing part of this tale is that after this photograph was taken, the so-called alien vanished without a trace. This leaves us pondering. Was it merely an individual engaging in a harmless jest, someone attempting to concoct a hoax, or could it genuinely have been an alien endeavoring to alert humanity to their presence? The truth remains elusive, and the mystery continues to captivate our imagination. The implications of this being a genuine extraterrestrial encounter are profound, challenging our understanding of the universe and our place within it. If true, this revelation could force us to reconsider not just our scientific knowledge, but our philosophical beliefs and international policies as well. Furthermore, the sudden disappearance of this entity after making such a startling claim adds layers of intrigue and speculation. Could it have been an attempt to evade capture or scrutiny by earthly authorities, or perhaps a strategic move to seek curiosity and awareness without causing widespread panic? The absence of further evidence or sightings only deepens the enigma, leaving both skeptics and believers in a state of suspense and wonder about the possibilities of interstellar visitation. Number 5. Alex Klier. Alex Klier's story is one of the more intriguing and controversial narratives in the UFO community. Klier, a former U.S. soldier, claims to have extensively interacted with extraterrestrial beings from the Andromeda Galaxy. His experiences with these beings, known as Andromedans, have formed the basis of his talks and writings on the subject. Klier's first reported encounter with extraterrestrial beings occurred in 1964 when he was just a child. However, it was not until many years later in 1989 that he claimed to have had a profoundly transformative experience. According to Klier, he spent 92 days aboard an Andromedan mothership, a period he describes as a privilege. This experience supposedly occurred in alien time, which equated to only 18 minutes on Earth. During his time on the spacecraft, Klier described interacting with beings of various appearances, including a very old short man and a young tall man with blue skin. He also detailed the ship's advanced technology, which he claimed was 900 meters long and featured 24 levels, including a vast park area capable of creating artificial sunrise through holographic technology. Klier's description of the ship's interior suggested it operated under different physical laws, making it seem larger inside than outside. Mind-boggling, isn't it? Klier's stories continue to spark debate within the UFO community to this day. Number 4. Betty and Barney Hill. On the night of September 19, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill, a couple from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, experienced what would become one of the most famous and thoroughly documented alleged alien abductions in history. While driving home from their honeymoon in Montreal and Niagara Falls through the White Mountains of New Hampshire, they encountered a mysterious object with flashing lights in the sky. This encounter set in motion a series of events that would forever change their lives. Betty, using binoculars, saw what she described as a spinning object in the air. Barney, skeptical at first and a pragmatic man with an IQ of 140, was taken aback by the sight of what appeared to be a large, round, flat object hovering just above the treetops. He stepped out of the car cautiously, but as he approached the object, he saw figures in gray uniforms behind rows of windows. In a state of panic, Barney returned to the car, and as they drove away, they heard rhythmic beeping sounds from the car's trunk. The next thing they knew, they were 35 miles down the road with a 2-hour gap in their memory. They arrived home to find unexplained damages to their car and clothes, and both felt unusual impulses and sensations. Seeking to understand what happened, the Hills turned to hypnosis in the following years. Under hypnosis, they recounted being taken aboard the spacecraft, separated and subjected to physical experiments by the beings. They described the aliens as having grayish skin, dressed in uniforms, and performing various tests on them, including collecting hair, nail samples, and skin scrapes. The Hills story gained public attention after being reported by a newspaper in 1965. To this day, it's among the most convincing alien stories, despite claims trying to debunk or explain the incident. Number 3. Simon Parkes. Simon Parkes was a former British city councillor. I know that's among the last type of people you'd expect to be involved with extraterrestrials. Parkes, who was a councillor in Whitby, has recounted various encounters with aliens starting from an early age. He believes his real mother is a 9-foot-tall alien with 8 fingers and describes his first encounter with her when he was just 6 months old. According to Parkes, this alien entity communicated with him telepathically, claiming to be his more important mother. Parkes' experiences don't stop there. He claims to have had numerous encounters throughout his life, including being taken aboard an alien craft at the age of 11. In one of the most astonishing claims, Parkes asserts that he fathered a child with an extraterrestrial being he calls the Cat Queen. This claim, along with his other experiences, has been shared in various interviews and documentaries, including the Anomalous Mind Management Abductee Contactee Helpline Project. Parkes insists that these experiences haven't hindered his ability to perform his duties as a counselor. He mentions that his focus has always been on local issues like fixing leaking roofs and potholes rather than on extraterrestrial encounters. Now, the most interesting thing is that Parkes isn't the only politician who believes in extraterrestrials. Paul Hellyer, Canada's former Minister of National Defence, also believes in the existence of aliens and UFOs. Like Parkes, Hellyer has spoken about the presence of various alien species with different agendas visiting Earth for thousands of years. Number 2. Pharaoh Akhenaten. Akhenaten, one of ancient Egypt's most enigmatic rulers, has long captivated historians. Several pharaohs have had their fair share of bizarre traits, but Akhenaten was by far the most intriguing. His representations show him with androgynous features including wide hips, an elongated head, almond-shaped eyes, and a prominent jawline. These depictions starkly contrast the traditional, more idealized representations of pharaohs in ancient Egyptian art. The significant departure from the norm has led to much speculation about the reasons behind these distinctive portrayals. Although there are many theories, like artistic interpretation and simple biological factors, many believe that Akhenaten's bizarre appearance is caused by his connection to extraterrestrials. After all, ancient Egypt itself is a civilization that has long been connected to life outside Earth. King Tutankhamun's extraterrestrial dagger is another fascinating artifact linking ancient Egypt to possible extraterrestrial influences. Among the treasures in Tutankhamun's tomb, this dagger discovered in 1925 by archaeologist Howard Carter stood out for its unique composition and craftsmanship. It's extraordinary because its iron blade likely originated from a meteorite, earning it the nickname extraterrestrial dagger. In the ancient world, iron was a rare and valuable material, more prized than gold, and the earliest iron objects in Egypt were believed to be made from meteoric metal. The composition of Tutankhamun's iron dagger, with its high nickel content, aligns closely with meteoric iron distinct from Earth-based iron. This was confirmed through modern scientific techniques like portable X-ray fluorescence spectrometry, which revealed a match with the composition of a meteorite found near Marka Matruh, Egypt. To this day, much about this dagger, its creation and origin, remains a mystery. Number 1. Marshall Applewhite. Born on May 17, 1931, in Spur, Texas, Marshall Applewhite's life started out quite normally. At a young age, he showed immense talent for public speaking and music, eventually earning a master's degree in music and focusing on musical theater. His career path, however, was anything but straightforward. Applewhite moved to New York City in an unsuccessful attempt to start a professional singing career, then taught at the University of Alabama and later headed the music department at a college in Houston. But his life changed drastically in 1972 when he met Bonnie Nettles, a nurse interested in theosophy and biblical prophecy. This meeting proved pivotal as Nettles convinced Applewhite they were both prophets referenced in the Book of Revelation. This belief marked the beginning of their journey together, which eventually led to the formation of the Heaven's Gate cult. Applewhite and Nettles, who saw themselves as messengers with a divine mission, began to travel across the country preaching their beliefs and gradually attracting a group of followers. They declared that the Earth would be recycled, and that they and their followers needed to leave the planet to reach a higher spiritual plane. The turning point came with the appearance of the Hale-Bopp comet in 1997. Applewhite became convinced that this comet signaled their departure from Earth. He believed a spaceship trailing the comet would take them to the next level. This is just the tip of the iceberg of Applewhite's story. If you want a rabbit hole to go down, then perhaps reading about this case will intrigue you for hours on end.